Bald Truth Dental Politics Podcast News Alert. Brought to you by Digapalooza, continuing education event. More info at dentistryingeneral.com.
I promised the supporter of the DDH to ask these. I think we touched base on it a little bit. This is the last question, and I appreciate your time here. I know you spend a lot of time with us, and we give the equal time to the supporters of DDH.
Once again, make sure you let everybody know I was not paid. This wasn't a conflict of interest.
Are you sure?
Hey, I'm certain.
Well, let me click a few times. There'll be some money involved.
Oh, yeah, because I've been accused I'm the click for pay. It says AADB's resistance to national uniformity in licensing. The DDH Compact aims to create national uniformity, reducing inconsistencies between states. Why does AADB continue to push state by state? Wouldn't it be better for dentists to have a clear, uniform path to license across all states? How do you respond to criticism that AADB is clinging outdated licensure models at the expense of efficiencies?
This is the essence question. It's almost like 1984, where the person has the question doesn't apply to what they're asking to. First of all, as we talked about, it's not a pathway to licensure. Let's get rid of that. You don't get a license in these states. It's not a pathway to licensure. But our objection is exactly the lack of uniformity. There is no one standard of exam that is in this process. Not even the national boards. If you read it by rule, they can replace the national boards. There's no uniformity in accreditation because any agency the DOE recognizes down the line applies. There's no uniformity in continuing education. There's no uniformity in whether you were disciplined in the past. There's no uniformity if you've been convicted of a criminal penalty. The reality is that's what the AADB exactly did. A uniform pathway that everyone has to meet the same standards for 51 out of 53 jurisdictions. I don't get it. The question is almost pretzel logic. The question really refers back to the DDH. Why did you get rid of uniformity? Why did you get rid of licensure? Why did you get rid of CE requirements? Why did you get rid of, plus there is a reality. We have a federal system. We don't have national licensure. The exclusionary clause of the Constitution says it's not a role of the federal government. So the best thing we could do is have everyone agree on a uniform standard. I agree. The AADB Compact does exactly that. It's a uniform standard to licensure. This is the way I look at the DDH, it's anything but uniform, but not to licensure at all. It's to a compact privilege. And that's another issue. So this is really an issue for attorneys. It's a subtlety, but when you get a licensure, there is a property interest. That license is yours in the state. And for the state to take it away, you have due process. State pulls out of a compact, you're done. The compact privilege evaporates, and states do that. You don't get the same thing. So it's a very interesting question, and I think it's the question that the DDH Compact needs to answer. Why did you abandon licensure? Why did you abandon uniform standards?
Go ahead, Spence.
Dr. Champagne, a couple of times you mentioned the criminal convictions or something like that. There is somewhere in the DDH something about an FBI background investigation.
Correct.
So
yes.
Why do you say what you say, and aren't they covering that ground?
The requirement in the DDH Compact is that everyone have an FBI background check or a criminal background check, and the state has to consider it, but doesn't have to do anything. The difference is among states. There are some states that can only consider felonies committed in the practice of dentistry. There are some states that have felonies that can't be considered. There are sensitive areas that they don't want to penalize somebody for. It doesn't say you're ineligible if the criminal background check comes positive. It just says you have to have one and the state has to consider it. This was asked, Spencer, it's a great question because it was asked in our legislative hearing just last week by a legislator. They said, what if somebody comes in for a compact privilege and they have a criminal background and we wouldn't want them to practice, but the other state does? And it says you have to trust the other state to do the right thing. So the problem is not that you need a criminal background check. That's in both compacts. What's in the AADB Compact is if it comes back positive, you cannot use the compact. In other words, you can't automatically get a license. You then have to practice for a license through the conventional pathway so each state can do their due diligence and make a decision accordingly based on reviewing that background. You're not going to defer that to any one state, and especially a state you never had to set foot in. So the license you're getting it from They may say the conviction was in state A, I'm in state B. That's not a problem for us. We're going to give it. Now you can practice in state A because they're in the compact. What the AADB compact says, yes, same thing, you got to have the criminal background check, but once it comes back positive, then you have to apply conventionally. Same as physicians, they're not allowed to, because the problem is we have to practice ethically. And if you've had criminal convictions, the state has a right to look at that to see if patients are going to be put at jeopardy. What if it was selling drugs when you have a DEA license? So that's the difference.
The key word is safeguards. Safeguards are being removed.
You're right.
And that's what we want. If you're in a profession of dentistry, you're there to protect your patients. That is the number one thing that we are sworn to do, right? So do not remove safeguards for what? For
2% of dentists.
2%
Why
of
would
dentists.
you do that? 2% of that. We're talking about a tiny, most of us do all of this. So why remove the safeguards for the rare outlier? We suggested when the compact was being done, model it after physicians. We're for it.
For more conversations, visit dentistryingeneral.com.